I'm Nick Westergaard, and this is On Brand, helping you tell your story. What if the future of marketing is a lot more human than we think? Today's guest, Mark Schaefer, has been shaping that future for decades, and he was actually on this show 10 years ago. So this is part reunion, part masterclass. Mark's a futurist, best-selling author, Rutgers faculty member, and Drucker-trained strategist whose ideas guide brands from Adidas to the U.S. Air Force. His 10 books and his top-ranked show, The Marketing Companion, have become industry staples. He's also a longtime friend who somehow manages to push your thinking and make you laugh at the same time. My interview with Mark is coming right up. But first...
Hey marketers, Deborah Eckerling here.
And I'm Keith Smith, and we host the MPN Meta Marketing Show, which is not just another marketing podcast, but the marketing podcast about all the other marketing podcasts.
Podcasts are booming, right? We love them, and people actually listen. They don't scroll, they don't swipe, well, except maybe during the ad breaks.
But here's the secret. With the Marketing Podcast Network, your ads don't make people hit skip. We put your brand on shows that people actually want to hear.
That's right. We match your message with podcasts that make marketing nerds like us perk up and take notes, or at least nod knowingly, pretending they understand.
And don't worry, because we'll deliver your ad naturally. People might even think that we love your brand personally, which of course we totally do, unless it's a veggie smoothie, then maybe not.
If you want your brand heard without making listeners roll their eyes,
head to marketingpodcasts.net and catch marketing fans at work, rest, and play. Seriously, your audience is already listening. Make sure they hear your brand and not our awkward jokes.
Join the conversation, because good ads shouldn't just be tolerated, they should be enjoyed.
Yes!
You enjoy podcasts. We know because you're listening to one. Hi, I'm Jason Falls, the executive producer of the Marketing Podcast Network. We love podcasts too, so much so that in addition to providing you with a great episode you're listening to, we also help businesses, brands, and even individuals produce their podcasts. MPN Studios offers podcast consulting and production services to help you get you or your business its very own podcast. We've helped dozens of smart people, advertising agencies, and brands develop podcasts. All you do is record your content or interview. We take that and deliver a professionally produced audio or video episode, complete with show notes, transcriptions, and even promotional clips to use on social media. And our monthly subscription prices are hard to beat. If you or your company are jonesing to have your own podcast to establish thought leadership, drive business leads, or just have fun talking about your business or topic of choice, we'd love to help. Learn more at marketingpodcasts.net/studio. That's marketingpodcasts.net/studio.
Mark Schaefer, welcome back to On Brand 10 years later.
10 years? That's a tragedy.
It really kind of is. I think part of it was masked by the fact that, as we were talking beforehand, we'd see each other at South by Southwest, at different conferences on the circuit a little more. So it seemed like we were seeing one another. We just weren't recording the conversation and sharing it with the world.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to be back and glad to see you. As I mentioned before we started to record, I mean, you've always been one of my absolute favorite intellects in this space. So I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Well, that is very much felt on this side of the microphone as well. And I want to jump right into why I think that this is a timely conversation. You've talked about us entering what you've called a most amazing time for marketers. And I feel like there are marketers out there who feel that, but it might be like, instead of it's a, I think maybe. What makes you more optimistic when so many are overwhelmed?
Well, I want to emphasize that I'm a realist. I mean, I want to approach everything rationally and look at the world as it is, not what we wish for. So I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And I think it does make sense that we approach this with a little bit of fear, right? I mean, in the last 2 months, I had 3 of my relatives get laid off being replaced by AI. Now, but there's another side of this, right? So we live in this absolutely magical time. And so I wrote this new little book over the summer, How AI Changes Your Customers. And if you're not really immersed in the world of AI, there are going to be some ideas in there that are going to really make your head spin and maybe even make you depressed about what's really happening in the world, how humanity is being rewired, the psychology of humanity is being rewired right in front of our eyes. But at the end of the book, I tried to reassure people to look at this in this amazing, magical, positive way. In that, look, let's get through the angst and let's embrace the change. It's not going to go away. And think about how AI can make us bigger and bolder and more creative and more impactful. How do we use these tools to be a better us? And that's how I'm coaching people these days. And they're excited about it. Just from a personal level, I'm at a point in my life where I really get a lot of value from teaching people and from mentoring people. And I've always been frustrated that it's a very time intensive one-on-one kind of effort. And I've really lamented that one of the things I've learned from my mentoring is that it can be the most powerful way to lift up a person and give them a chance. And I wish I could do more. So one of the things I did, and this is totally an experiment, I don't know if it's going to work, but I created a MarkBot. I uploaded all my blog posts, all my books, all my workshops, all my speeches, all my strategic frameworks, and I taught it to behave. So it like has my values in there, kind of my value system. And I just put it out into the world. And it's on my website. Anybody can try it. It's private. I don't know who uses it. I don't know what people ask. It's totally free, but it's just a way of thinking, how can I use this technology to scale teaching? To maybe this is going to touch someone. I mean, one of the things about me is that I never say no when someone needs help. Answer, like even if it's a high school kid working on a paper, I never say no, because you just never know when that little bit of time is going to send a positive ripple through history. Maybe that's going to change that person's life in some little way. And so that's my hope with the MarkBot, that I can do that more often. And maybe I won't even know it's happening.
Well, and I can attest to someone who shows up in your inbox every now and then that you are always there with an answer, but it brings up a challenge, because for a lot of individuals today that are, the human core of their business, that is famously hard to scale. So it does seem like there's some opportunity here as well. How do we
I think so.
How do we still scale it while preserving the human connection angle? Is that possible? I'm not even sure I phrased that question right.
Yeah, and it's a good question. It's a profound question, even though you were awkward in your phrasing of it.
I know.
I speak
thank you.
I speak fluent Westergaard, so I can get it. But so when you opened the show and introduced me, you talked about how I've sort of been an advocate for human-based marketing. And sometimes when I hear that, I kind of cringe, because it's just so overused. And I think it's almost like people are kind of hiding behind that in a fear of AI, thinking, oh, well, it's never going to replace humans. It's never going to be able to do what I can do. And, that may not be true. And My phrase that I use a lot in my workshops and in my speeches is, and I believe this with every fiber of my body, that the most human company wins. The company that you can copy everything. You can copy ingredients, you can copy advertising, but you can't copy how you treat people, how you show up for your customers and potential customers. And I think in the future, Nick, the most human company is going to be a blend. It's going to be a blend of humans and AI. Look, AI, one of the relatives that got laid off was in customer service. And every time I would see her, she would tell me about some stupid customer story. The stupidest customer that she had that day. Now, do you think that's starting to show up in the way she connects with customers when she kind of has this mindset of the stupid people on the other end of the phone, right? So maybe it's a good thing that she lost her job and she's being replaced by someone that will get, some non-human entity that is never tired, never irritable, never impatient, never feeling sick, will always try to get you the best answer as fast as it can. And, it's not always the right answer, but it can help a company be more accessible, more friendly, maybe even more, intimate in some ways. And I think the real issue is going to be, and we're going to be seeing this, mark my words, especially in 2026 as we go into this upcoming year. What happens typically with companies? A new technology, a new enabling technology appears and they over-index, right? They've got to, do as much AI as possible, reduce many people as possible, and they're going to go too far. We're already starting to see this a little bit. And so my advice is to really think about, what are you known for? I mean, what is your brand? And if you cut too deep on the humanity, that may screw up everything. Because remember what I said, that's the only thing your customers, your competitors really can't copy. Maybe when everybody's moving toward more AI, maybe you need to keep a little friction in there. Maybe that's the thing that's going to make you special. As we move forward, the human touch will be a luxury. So make sure you don't screw it up. It could screw up your whole brand. And like I said, we're already starting to see that bubble up a little bit. There was a recent problem with Allstate and the way they handled a transition to AI that completely infuriated their customer base. And we're going to see more of that in 2026. So just be careful.
On Brand will be right back after this.
Good baseline.
You enjoy podcasts. We know because you're listening to one. Hi, I'm Jason Falls, the executive producer of the Marketing Podcast Network. We love podcasts too, so much so that in addition to providing you with the great episode you're listening to, we also help businesses, brands, and even individuals produce their podcasts. MPN Studios offers podcast consulting and production services to help you get you or your business its very own podcast. We've helped dozens of smart people, advertising agencies, and brands develop podcasts. All you do is record your content or interview. We take that and deliver a professionally produced audio or video episode, complete with show notes, transcriptions, and even promotional clips to use on social media. And our monthly subscription prices are hard to beat. If you or your company are jonesing to have your own podcast to establish thought leadership, drive business leads, or just have fun talking about your business or topic of choice, we'd love to help. Learn more at marketingpodcasts.net/studio. That's marketingpodcasts.net/studio.
So, you're about to make a trade based on a friend's text. But which you do you listen to? Is it, oh, we could buy a house in Tulum? Get optioning those options. We could lose everything. Or, let's do a little research. Get your head in the trade and make the investment decision that's right for you. Learn more at finra.org/trade-smart.
Now, back to the show. I really like that point, and I feel like it's an easy one to miss.
Mm.
The going too far. Where's the line that you cross? Oh, it was right behind you. And I feel like you mentioned what's unique about your brand, and I do think it reminds me a lot of branding conversations, because a lot of times there's organizations that end up sanding out the rough edges that make them interesting. And I think it's the same thing that you're talking about, because it is that a lot of times a very human, very emotional connection. Is there any process for not missing that, for not going too far? A check to put in place that we're not just cutting too much, like you said.
I one of the sort of the rules of thumb I have is when people ask me about the best marketing companies, I say, look at the best managed companies. Usually the best managed companies do everything well. And we can look to those, I think, for leadership on some of these issues. I'll tell you a little story. I don't know if I've ever told this story, but it's not really an AI story, but I think it fits. So many years ago, I was in the metals and mining business, and we had come up with this new type of aluminum, or for your European listeners, aluminium, that resisted dirt and grease. So, I mean, it was like magical. It had this coating on it and it just never looked dirty. So you think, okay, who's a great customer for this? So we thought Harley-Davidson. So we went to Harley-Davidson and we did a demonstration, and we actually met with I guess it was the president or the CEO of Harley-Davidson. I think it was like the grandson of Davidson or something. And I mean, this is a person that lived and breathed this business, that just, it was in his bones. It was in his DNA. He knew his customers so well. So he looked at this product that resisted dirt and grime, and he said, you don't understand. We want our bikes to get dirty because our customers love cleaning their bikes. That's how they engage with the product. It makes them feel useful. We don't want to take that friction out. Now, this is a good example of what I'm talking about. This is a well-managed company. This is leadership that knows their customers maybe better than they even know themselves. And he knew when to leave the friction in.
Yeah.
I will look for examples from the best managed companies to know, when to leave that human component in. And there's another subtle thing in this, that this is going to be an existential issue for our customers, that as AI takes over more and more, we're leaving our decision making to AI. AI is solving arguments between me and my wife. People are going to AI to decide what college to go to, what city to move to, who to marry. I mean, big decisions, right? And AI is so good, and it seems to be so ubiquitous and all-knowing, that a little bit of friction and making our customers feel useful in this world where AI seems to be taking over, that could be an interesting advantage.
Well, I think that one, you said, I've never told this story, and I'm not sure, but I think it fits here. I think it absolutely fits here. And I think one of the key dynamics, in addition to what you were talking about, is they understood their customer and their customer's relationship with their brand. And I think that's even another step. I don't think there's few that know their customers as well as they potentially could. But beyond that, what that relationship actually looks like and what it means. And for something as easy to, I mean, that's a great example of what I was asking for, of something that's easy to miss, that could easily get lost in innovation and continuous improvement from technology, even, predating AI, as you talked about there, but something that means something to people.
I mean, I think this is a time for marketers to defend the brand. A marketer is a protector of the brand. And I mean, this is a lesson I learned, long ago when I was in the manufacturing world, working in B2B marketing, and you are under all kinds of pressure from the manufacturing people and from the salespeople to do this or do that or cut corners. And, and my boss instilled a real sense of bravery and courage in me that, look, we're calling the shots. We defend the brand, and we're not going to let some other part of the organization deteriorate our brand that's going to hurt us, either in the short term or the long term. And AI can be an enabler of the brand. AI can help you be more of how you are at your best. If you're known for creativity, maybe it can make you more creative. If you're known for your speed of response, then maybe that's where you can focus to make your brand even stronger. But, whatever you do, don't let technology get in the way, and be ready to defend your brand when your company is maybe over-indexing and pushing it too far.
So speaking of defending brands and adapting one's brand, I'm going to ask you something that I'm not sure I've ever asked you, but I always marvel whenever we're talking, because it's back when I was in manufacturing and in B2B and different goods, and you've had so many different chapters, or to channel Taylor Swift, eras of the Mark Schaefer
And
career.
I'd like to use this to announce my Eras tour, Nick.
Yes, it's happening finally.
The costume changes are breathtaking.
But, as we talk about, people being replaced by AI, you've been at this for a long time and seen many different things and even different waves of technology. You and I meeting with the social media revolution and everything else. How have you navigated that in what I think is a pretty effective way, even in the time that we've known each other, but also everything that came before that? I think your answer to this question would be interesting to folks looking at careers pretty differently today.
I've been reflecting on this a lot. I've had a very weird career because I'm not really known as the LinkedIn guy or the social media guy or whatever. And arguably, I've left a lot of money on the table by not really specializing. I'll give you an example. So in 2012, let's see, was it? Yeah. I wrote the book in 2011. It was called Return on Influence. It was the first book on influence marketing. And it was published at a time that nobody was even using that term. And the book came out in 2012, and I predicted in 2 years' time, 2014, influence marketing is going to become a mainstream marketing event. And if you go to Google Trends and put in influence marketing, you will see the hockey stick start in 2014. Now, here I was. I was on I caught the wave of this big idea. I wrote the best-selling book. It was, this was the traditional days of publishing when they actually put marketing firepower behind books. Rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was in the New York Times, and I was in the Wall Street Journal. I was on the CBS News, and I entered the national stage, and I could have been I could have had the first influence marketing agency. I could have been the go-to guy. And I did a little bit of work after I wrote the book, but I dropped it because I would have been bored out of my mind if I was only doing one thing. So the defining trait of my career, and it's been an unusual type of success, but it has been driven by curiosity. I love to learn, and I'm driven by curiosity, and I've been that way through my entire career. The kind of the big moment that changed everything for me was I was in this Fortune 100 company, and I was a young marketing guy. My boss was like 45 years old. He wasn't going anywhere. It's like, okay, what's next for me? And there was this new thing happening called the internet. And I went to my boss. I said, I think there's some business applications here. I'd like to experiment with this. I would like to put an AOL account on my expense account. And after much debate, he relented. I was the first person in this Fortune 100 company to have an internet account. And so, long story short, I had some ideas that worked. And as the company said, we've got to institutionalize this on an enterprise level. Who should lead this? Well, I was first. And so I got to lead this enterprise level and was really an internet and intranet pioneer in the corporate world. And then I got immersed in social media. And those were the days, I first, connected with you. And then it's like, okay, wow, the power in the world is changing because now we can all create our own content. Influence has been democratized. And I got excited by that idea. And I wrote this book on influence marketing. Well, wow. What happens when everybody's creating content? There's too much damn content. And so then I talked about content shock and got into the content code. Okay, well, wow, that works. How do we do that for ourselves? So then I got interested in personal branding. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And so, the books have been part of the career, and the books have sort of driven the speaking part of my career. And I think what it's done, Nick, is it's propelled relevance. And so I think that is what has really propelled my career instead of niching into something. And let me say one more thing about this. So, I wrote this little book, and I didn't plan to write this book. It's called How AI Changes Your Customers. And the reason I wrote it was I was part of this research study. They gathered 300 futurists and asked them, how will AI change humanity by 2035? A big question, an impossible question. And what made this remarkable is that these 300 futurists, philosophers, psychologists, academics, Silicon Valley titans, they came to consensus on some ideas. And we are literally being rewired. Now, we're abdicating a lot of our agency to AI. And here is the personality trait that I think will help human beings win going forward. And that trait is curiosity. And here's why. If you're a curious person, AI is like your gold mine. It's an encyclopedia for you every day. If you're not a curious person, you're just going to go to AI to get the grade, to get the answer, to get the grade and leave. And you're not becoming wise. You're abdicating your agency to grow to AI. And what's happening today, I think a lot of people, they just want the easy way out. Maybe that's part of humanity. I don't know. But a lot of my colleagues that are working for big companies are saying, we don't know what we're getting out of colleges today. A lot of these people, they don't know anything because they're not doing the hard work. I could have used AI to write my book, but I wouldn't have gained that wisdom that allows me to talk about it and consult about it and teach about it and give a speech about it. And so those who are willing to be curious and to do the hard work, those are the ones that will thrive in this new era. And the ones that just want the quick answer, they'll wither away.
Well, I love that answer and the connection to the through line, because I think you are a case study that is exemplary of that. Well, Mark, our conversation has made me smile many times, and I am so excited to ask you for a brand that has made you smile recently.
Well, there's a brand that absolutely has delighted me. And if you haven't looked at Nutter Butter recently, this is a good time. I encourage everyone to go to YouTube and do a search for Nutter Butter videos. And what they're doing, first of all, let's set the stage. Nutter Butter is a forgotten brand, right? I think it's number 6 or 7 in cookie sales. It's probably something we got in our lunch when we were kids and then promptly forgot about it. Well, they've got nothing to lose. And the reason I love them so much is because I wrote this book about a year ago called Audacious, which talks about how boring most marketing and advertising is. And the world is waiting for you to shake it up. And the example that I love the most is like pizza. So pizza should be crazy. Pizza is a celebration. Everybody loves pizza. Pizza should be fun. What's the most creative thing in pizza marketing? Nobody out-pizzas the Hut. What in the world does that even mean? The bar is so low for creativity. Now, here comes Nutter Butter. They're creating videos on TikTok. I kid you not, it is an LSD fever dream. You will watch these videos and no two are alike. They kind of have repeating characters. They kind of have repeating phrases. There's a storyline in there somewhere that people are trying to figure it out. It's going to be amazing to see how they sustain this and maybe integrate it into their traditional ads and packaging. But they have tripled their sales in the last 12 months. And it just appeals to this sensibility, especially with young people today. They just want something weird. They just want something just like challenge me, shake it up, quit showing, glasses of milk in your ads for cookies. Do something else. So there's no way I can describe these videos. And when you see them for the first time, you'll understand why. But it's working. And to me, it's such an inspiration.
Well, I love it. I have not thought about Nutter Butters in a while, and I'm eager to check this out. Mark, where can folks go to learn more about who you are and what you do?
Well, it's pretty easy. You don't have to remember my name, let alone how to spell it. Schaefer's a hard one. But all you have to remember is businesses grow. That's my website. Go to businessesgrow.com. You can find my blog. You can find the books we mentioned today. You can find my social media connections. I'd love to hear from your listeners. If you're a friend of Nick, you're a friend of mine.
Well, that means a lot. And we will link up to all of that in our show notes, which folks can find at onbrandpodcast.com. Mark Schaefer, thanks for coming back and being on brand with us.
Thanks, Nick.
On Brand is part of the Marketing Podcast Network. If you like what you're hearing, if we've made you smile, you can always listen free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform may be. And please take a moment and rate and review the podcast to help others find the show. Until next week, I'm Nick Westergaard, and I'll see you on the internet.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.